Assalamu alaikum and good greetings. So today we'll be watching a video titled Muslim questioned about the Prophet's marriage! Exclamation mark. Muhammad Ali. This is by the Muslim Lantern. Without further ado, let's watch.
This is probably one of the only ones that gets kind of iffy. One of the main disputes that I see Christian makes in the term of morality against Muslims is the morality of Aisha's age, and I apologize if my pronunciation is wrong.
It's okay. It's okay. Don't worry.
You're
being very respectful. We appreciate that. But for me, I don't get offended at all. So don't worry about that.
Yeah. What would your response to the morality of Aisha's age be?
For me, it's just a question. When someone asks me, did Prophet Muhammad get married to Aisha this specific age? I say yes. Because for me, it's a normal thing. For me, like the person who makes the claim is the person who's supposed to explain why it's immoral. So from an Islamic paradigm, our morals are from the Quran. What happened is not against the Quran teaching. What happened was consensual. It was with the agreement of her father. She lived 50 years before the Prophet ﷺ. She married no one after the Prophet ﷺ. She never spoke ill of the Prophet ﷺ. She had all chances to do so if she was being abused or anything, like they try to put it, right? Point is, from our perspective as Muslims, we don't have any issues with that. So we don't feel like we need to justify, for me personally, and I think Muslims should be like that. And this is what I advise Muslim brothers and sisters. We got nothing to justify anyway. So, why do I need to justify something that happened that is not wrong? But when someone comes to me and he claims, okay, this is wrong, then he's got to provide his moral compass. If that person is a Christian, like you said, the question to you is this: as a Christian, where is the age of marriage in the Bible?
In terms of the Christian Bible, I don't know. I never made it fully through it.
That's the point. There is not a single verse in the Bible that gives you an age of marriage, by the way. None. So the Bible does not speak about the age of marriage, number one. Number two, we've got Rebecca marrying Isaac at the age of 3 years old. She was 3 years old. They say there was a marriage contract between her and Isaac, right? And rabbis would admit this. This is not something that rabbis deny, but Christians would deny,
Yeah, Christians deny it because the Bible states that Isaac was 27. But there is happenstance because if you consider miscommunication as a factor, it was more so likely that she could have been around the ages of 12 to 14 because of how long it took Abraham to learn. But who am I?
It's not. No. There is a calculation, and I could send it to you later on. It's just
I have the calculation between Sarah's age of 90 to Abraham's 100.
Yes.
Isaac being born at 100.
Exactly. So you looked into it.
27. Yeah.
Yes. So my point is, it doesn't matter how me and you understand it. The recipients of the text, Jewish people, how do they understand it? They say, yes, she got married in that age, and they say that there is nothing in their laws that prohibits that type of marriage contract. Yeah. So why don't the Christians be consistent then and go after the Jews? Right.
Well,
and go after the Old Testament.
Fun fact for you.
Yes.
I'm sure you'll have in your arsenal of rebuttals. In the 1880s, so less than 200 years ago, in America, 37 states, age of consent was 10 years old.
Yeah. Let me even surprise you.
Delaware at that time was 7.
I know. Not only that, let me tell you something. In England, you talked about the US. What about England? It's the same thing in England. In the 19th century or in the 18th century. If you read a book written by Sir William Blackstone, was a jurist. If you study law in Oxford or Cambridge, he'll teach you his books. So he's got a book. He's got
University of Oxford is where a lot of my research has come from.
Oh, good. So there is a book he wrote. It's called Commentaries on the British Law or Commentaries on the English Law or something like that, right? Or the Law of England, right? In that book, if you go to page, I believe, 110 specifically, he speaks about the age of marriage. You know what he says? He says a woman can be given in marriage at the age of 7. And entitled to that, he's talking about the state law. He's not talking about his opinion. He's talking about the law in England at the time. This is what was being practiced in the country. So point is this. We don't apply fallacies, right? Presentism, applying the values of today, the young woman of today, their mind, their upbringing, their social life, their how long do they live, the life expectancy, and we compare it to the past and how things were operating 1,400 years ago in the deserts. That's a fallacy called presentism, which is to apply the morals of today on the past. And if you look at the life expectancy in the past, well, according to Western historians, they'll tell you it's 30 to 35 years old or something at that time. If this was the life expectancy, let's say someone is 30 years old, he gets married, we ask him what age, he will say to you 18. Okay, so he get married at 18. She gives birth at 20, let's say, and then 10 years old, the parents die. What can a society like this continue? The actuality, no, it will never continue. So we cannot apply these kind of standards of today on the past, and that's why you will never find anyone in the past ever having an issue with the marriage of the Prophet ﷺ. I'm telling you, let's say 200 years ago, you're not going to find a single person, a non-Muslim, who spoke about this idea, who criticized the Prophet. Because it was well known, but no one criticized him for this, because this was the customs of the people until 200 years ago, right? So today, when they change the laws, and some countries they say, and this is a question that when someone comes to me and says this is wrong, I say, okay, what is the right age? You'll say 18. I say, why 18? If you go to some countries today, 16. If you go to Italy, I believe it's 14, the age of consent. So they can say, by the way, they say she can consent to sexual intercourse, but she cannot get married, which is like, it's hilarious, you know. So you're old enough to have intercourse, but you're not old enough to get married. Okay, well, it's nonsense, right? Yeah, it's complete nonsense, you know. So if you and I believe in California, there's not a single in California today, there's no age. You can get married at any age with the consent of your parents. You can look this up. Today in California, in the U.S., leave other countries.
Yeah, but they would probably argue that human morality probably wouldn't let that happen.
But human morale in the U.S. is letting it happen. That's the point I'm making, right? If this is your people, if this is like the most advanced countries,
California is definitely not my people.
No. I mean to the people who make this argument, not you. I'm saying the people who make this argument. I would say that this is your people, meaning this is the Westerners that you are amongst. Those are the people who you say have the best values. This is what they generally say. They say, look, America is advanced. We love America and this and that. Okay, so these are the morals of America. So you should have a problem with your country before you talk about anyone else. But as I said to you, the question has to start from, I don't need to justify anything. That's how I look at it. I don't need to justify anything. Historically well known. There's no issues with that historically. Only an idiot who didn't study history would have an issue with that marriage because he doesn't know how things were in the past. He didn't study, he didn't learn, right? So when someone comes with this issue, I'll just turn it back on him and ask him the question, where do you get your moral compass from?
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? If you're claiming now something that my prophet did or something that happened in Islamic history is wrong, you've got to bring me now your moral compass and your reasoning behind you stating that this is wrong. If you're a Christian and your book doesn't give an age of marriage, why are you telling me about marriage and not marriage and what age they married? So you got no moral compass at all, which means your Bible agrees with any age because it has no restrictions. At least Islam. This is the thing about Islam. Why is Islam perfect regarding this issue? Because Islam does not give you a specific age. Islam doesn't give an age. Islam gives a criteria, and because Islam knows women are different, so they mature differently, and different women will mature in different situations. Islam gives a criteria that works with all women. So the criteria is the principle the Prophet ﷺ set forward, which is la dara wa la darar. Cannot cause harm to anyone or yourself. Okay, so we use that principle that look, you cannot marry a young woman, or even, by the way, an old woman, even 90 years old. If there's harm on her, it's impermissible to marry her. So it's not about the age, it's about the harm. So Islam prohibits you from marrying anyone that you would cause them harm, physical, psychological, or otherwise. Now, who can determine whether this girl is ready physically? That's well known. If she reaches the age of puberty, then she's ready physically. It's a sign, natural sign that she is ready. And psychologically, who can determine that? The people in her culture. People who are in her culture, people who are specialized in those fields of psychology and understanding and all of that. They can say, okay, she's ready at this age and she's not ready at that age. And also the family have a very strong opinion there to know whether, no family will just give their children like cattle, you know. So they will look at their children and then they know when they're ready and when they're not ready. And the girl cannot get married without permission of her wali, her guardian, which would be her father, for example. So you cannot just go marry a young girl if you like to marry her. No, the permission of the parents are needed. And the parents care about their children more than anyone else. In average, generally, you were saying. Because someone come and say, oh, there is this person. No, we're saying in general, right? Generally, the parents, they care about their children. So Islam gives you that perfect rule. There's no harm. So now we look at the different countries and how quickly the girls mature. So for example, in hot countries, they physically mature quicker than cold countries. There are studies on fish, for example. If you put heat on them, they grow much quicker. Okay, so they grow quicker, but they stop. While the ones that grow in colder countries, they grow more but slower, right? So this is what the study kind of showed. So, but they grow quicker. So they reach the age of puberty quicker, and their physical bodies grow much quicker, right? Then we go to the psychological aspect. And in the past, there was no such thing as kindergarten, elementary school, secondary school, and all of this nonsense we have today, in which always limits children with other children, so they don't get to grow. In the past, children used to communicate, deal with other people, sell and buy, and deal with adults, so they become mature psychologically much easier. And they were always prepared. When you reach the age of marriage, you're a woman now, you're ready to get married. This was the concept, this was the understanding. And that's why the wife of the Prophet ﷺ, she was betrothed before marrying him to someone else, before him.
Yeah.
Right. And one of his wives, which was Safiya bint Huyay, and Huyay ibn Akhtab, her father, was the leader of the Jewish tribe, Banu Nadir. He was a leader of one of the main Jewish tribes, and his daughter, she got married at 10, not to the Prophet, to someone else. This was the customs, this was the culture, this was how things were happening. The woman, she reaches the age of puberty, is maturity, there's low life expectancy. The woman gets married, she can produce children, so can continue to live her life. And this was how societies worked until just 100 years ago, 150 years ago, which people started bringing all of these numbers and disagreeing with each other, you know.
Well, what I look at for morality reason wise, back in the 6th century, in year 600, the average life expectancy was between 35 and 40. 6 years old, 8 years old, especially 9. At 10 years old, you're already 1/4 of your life is done.
Yeah. It's nothing like today. So that's what I'm saying to you. And even if you go back 1,400 years, it's even more. It was less life expectancy. We had less advancement, so it was less. So just looking at it from that perspective, all of those people who come with these things is just uneducated. And what we do is by responding by educating them on these issues, by saying, look, you have an issue, so you have to bring the rational justification to show me why this is a problem. It's not the onus. You're making the claim, not me. You're saying X is immoral. I don't need to provide anything, justify anything. That's my belief, and that's historically accurate. But you didn't do your research. So if you're making a claim that there's a problem in it, come and justify, tell me why there is an issue in this, right? And the Prophet ﷺ, he married multiple women, and Aisha was the only virgin amongst all his wives. They were all widows and divorcees. Does that does that this person is not looking for women, is not looking for women or young women specifically, if you want to say. If a man wants to do that, he's not going to marry widows and divorcees. His first wife is not going to be 15 years older than him, Khadija radiallahu anha, and his second wife is not going to be another woman that is older than him. She was a widow of someone, and then he married her. So I can go on and on, but the point is, just doing some basic historical research on this issue will make people understand there's nothing wrong with this. It's just that the people are trying to apply the standards of today, looking at the young girl today.
Yeah, so I've done my research and I've come to a similar conclusion. I just wanted to hear a Muslim's aspect on it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So question number 3 in response to question number 2 is, if you do know, what do you think of the scholars at the University of Oxford that says there's a high possibility that Aisha's age was a fabrication to bolster her purity of virginity to claim religious and political authority over the followers of Ali, Muhammad's peace blessings of Allah be upon him, his son-in-law? This article was October 28th, 2022 by Javad T. Hashmi.
It's okay. You don't need to read his name, but this, like these type of things, like seriously, I'm trying to hold myself from laughing because the information is so ridiculous. Aisha's age and her marriage has nothing to do with Ali ibn Abi Talib. Like Ali ibn Abi Talib was a cousin of the Prophet. He's got nothing to do with Aisha radiallahu anha. He's got nothing to do with their age. And if any issues happen, they happen later on, way later on after the death of the Prophet, years and years, tens of years later, right? If anything happened between her and Ali radiallahu anha. So I don't know what this guy's talking about. Absolutely, number one. Number two, we've got Aisha herself telling us her age when she got married. We've got multiple reports from her, and then we've got multiple reports from different people, individual people.
Yeah. So for me, I haven't made it. I've only been studying Islam for maybe not even a week now, so I don't know that she said that.
No, I'm telling you, she said that, and it's the most authentic books of hadith. She said her age. She said the age where the marriage contract happened, and then she said the age where the consummation happened as well. She was very specific about the age, right? And that is reported by many people. Like Al-Aswad, he reports it from Aisha. Then we've got Zuhri reports it from Aisha. She's many people in the this was a well-known thing. The people who try to just change the age, why do they do that? Because they've fallen on the bandwagon of being on the defensive for no reason. They've already lost the battle because they're defending something that they're not supposed to defend, because the person who's making the attack is the person who needs to justify. But what happened is they think that they need to justify something. They don't have pride and honor in the tradition. They don't understand history and what actually happened in history. And based on that, they're trying to change the teachings of Islam. Those type of people writing those articles, So that would be the answer to what you're saying.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm aware of those who think that the only way to justify it is to somehow bring the age to what is acceptable now. Yeah, anyway, so that's interesting. Most of the things that I heard today is something that I already know from before, in terms of the discussion, etc. I think I have done one video before where I ask, if anyone can, justify why is it wrong in the first place before I need to answer for that specific perception of wrong, right? Is there any power dynamic issues there? Is there any abuse there, etc., right? There's none of that. The only thing is, one, if you want to attack the character, then you see all the marriages before and after, etc., the accusation fall flat. If you want to just simply for the fact that that age I cannot accept, you cannot accept, so why should anyone else have any problem with it when it is not a problem and you have your own issue that you cannot accept it, right? So there's no one actually managed to bring forth any good case anyway, except for, I think, this issue why is always being brought forth, because it can trigger emotional response to many people. That's the only reason why it is being used, basically. Anyway, what's your thought? Feel free to share. Thank you for watching. See you next time.